Hi, I'm JP, you're watching the Coffee Channel, and today I'm going to be there for you. Why am I going to be there for you? Because I'm going to be tasting these Friends Nespresso flavoured coffee pods, so you don't have to. So we discovered these pods when we were looking for specialty pods to review for a different YouTube video, which you can view on our channel, about specialty coffee and how it's been used for Nespresso pods. And then we came across these and we thought, well, how bad can they be? The answer is probably very bad, but I may have my opinions completely changed once we've tried them. Now, they're packaged and made in Poland. There's no details about the coffee inside them at all. I suspect it's going to be a very dark roast. But again, I may be wrong. 5 flavours: Choco Cherry, Caramel, Vanilla, Hazelnut, Caramel, Toffee. Rather worryingly, only 3 of those are described as natural flavours. So I'm not sure the Caramel, Toffee and the Chocolate Cherry presumably are some sort of synthetic flavours. I'm not expecting much out of this, I have to say. But we'll give them a go, we'll taste each of them, we'll see what they're like. Again, so maybe you don't have to. Or maybe you'll like them. Maybe I'll like them. Let's see.
Oh, friend!
So for those of you who've maybe been living under a rock for the last 25, 30 years, Friends was an American sitcom, very popular in the late 90s. Sort of been revived lately on Netflix and streaming channels. So lots of people still watch it, which I guess explains why there's any currency to be had from branding something with the Friends logo and paying the licensing fee. I mean, the interesting thing about Friends is that part of the set was set around a coffee shop. It wasn't a coffee shop as we knew it at the time in the UK. And actually, the birth and expansion of Starbucks kind of coincided with Friends. This idea that you go to a coffee shop that wasn't your normal cafe, that had comfortable seats, and you ordered things made on an actual espresso machine, large milk drinks. At the time, it seemed quite revolutionary in the UK, where a lot of cafes served instant coffee for like 50p, and the quality of coffee was really pretty bad. So there is a kind of a relationship between Friends and coffee, and maybe you could say it kind of kicked off the second wave of coffee in the UK, at least, and in other parts of the world. Now, we're going to unbox them now and have a look at what we get. There's 50 of them in here. I think it was around £20 to buy. So it's a standard sort of pricing for Nespresso capsules, and they're aluminium capsules, the standard ones, and they come in your normal boxes that look a bit like that. 10 in each box. Now, I think the one I'm least worrying about is the Choco Cherry. Even though this is a synthetic flavour, I feel that this might be the least worst of this batch. So that's the one I'm going to test first. Okay, so we've made our first drink. It's a Choco Cherry one. It's come out quite dark. Looks like a quite dark roast coffee. There's a little bit of crema. It's a typical Nespresso shot. It's about 25 grams. I put quite soft water in there because I assumed this was going to be a really dark roast. So I've gone for softer water, which should mean it's less in danger of over-extracting like a lot of dark roast coffees do. It's a lot darker looking than the specialty pods that we tried in the other video. And there's a very, very strong smell of this kind of synthetic Choco Cherry kind of flavour. So if you've ever been to a Shakeaway, the milkshake chain, and had one of their like Black Forest Gatto-y type milkshakes, it's something a bit like that. In fact, probably Black Forest Gatto is the nearest flavour notes I could imagine for it, but not in a good way like the Gardelli Mazungo we tried the other day. Right, I'm going in for my first taste. Let's see what it's like. Right. Oh dear. Okay, it's a really kind of weird combination of kind of quite thin Nespresso with a weird sort of background sweetness of chocolate and cherry, but not really chocolate and cherry, like this weird sort of fake flavour. Then at the back of it, you get this kind of really strange dark, burnt, roasty flavour. I'm going to go for another bit to see. It's quite weak tasting. It's fairly unpleasant, actually. Right, okay. I think we'll try another one and see if they get any better. Okay, so after that rather disappointing Choco Cherry pod, I've made a vanilla one. It looks very similar. There's a very thin crema that's kind of died down as it's cooled because it comes out too hot to drink straight away. It smells a little bit vanilla, not as strongly as the Choco Cherry. The reason I've got more hope for this one over the other one is it's actually natural vanilla flavouring rather than synthetic like the Choco Cherry. So I'm hoping it will be a bit more palatable. But let's have a little try. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of roasty and a bit weak. I haven't made it long or anything. It's made at 25 grams, which is usually what you'd expect a coffee pod with an espresso machine to come out at. So it shouldn't taste really weak, even though there's not actually much coffee in an espresso pod, which if you look at our other video on the specialty pods, you'll see me talk about this. It's got a weird sort of roasty, dark, burnt flavour to it that's like really sort of bad coffee from a chain coffee shop. It's slightly better than the Choco Cherry, but I wouldn't want to drink it. You probably have to pay me to drink this. So I'm going to try another one and we'll see where we go from there. I think the caramel one is going to be next. Okay, we're on to the third pod, caramel. And there's something slightly worrying about this that's disturbing me. And that's, it smells kind of like celery, which isn't really a smell I associate with caramel. There's like a sort of vague caramel smell in there, but the main smell for me is celery, and I don't really like celery. And these coffees have been pretty bad so far, so I'm not sure what this is going to be like. Oh dear, right, okay. Okay, so the underlying coffee is exactly the same, and it's got this really weird kind of... It doesn't taste like celery, but because the aroma's like celery, there's still that kind of feel of it in your mouth. It's really quite odd. Do I really want to take a second sip of this? I suppose in the name of science, I will do. Oh, God, that's absolutely awful. Oh, God. Right, okay, yeah. Okay, no success with that one. That's the worst of them, actually, so far. So we're going to move on to the hazelnut one, which I believe is a natural flavour. Maybe slightly better, I don't know. So, onto the hazelnut one. The crema's gone really quickly on this for some reason. I don't know why it would be any different to the others. I can't smell any hazelnut, to be honest. There's no discernible hazelnut smell or aroma there at all. It just smells like sort of bad burnt coffee from a chain coffee shop, maybe like a bad Americano. It's been over extracted. Let's go in. Okay, weirdly bitter with no flavour. Kind of really bitter flavour on the front, kind of roasty at the back, but nothing there, and really quite weak as well. It really doesn't seem to work well on this Nespresso machine. It tastes like a very weak coffee, which Nespresso, even though it is a fairly weak coffee compared to an espresso, it should taste relatively strong in terms of the thickness of it, concentration. I'm going to try another sip. There's no discernible hazelnut flavour in there, which might be a good thing, actually, because this is actually the least worst of them, because the others all had this overpowering, horrible sort of synthetic flavour, even when they weren't synthetic. You can't really taste any hazelnut here. It's maybe not strong enough to cut through the dark roastiness of the coffee. So it actually is better as a consequence, although I wouldn't call it good in any way. We're on to the final one now. Maybe this will be amazing and I'll eat my words on these, but we'll see. Okay, so we're on to the final Nespresso pod, and this one is Toffee. And weirdly, it's come out with virtually no crema. I mean, I've let it cool for a few seconds before we started filming this, but the crema dispersed and there was hardly any of it in the first place. It smells very similar to the caramel one. It's got a weird note of celery. I don't know if the natural flavour in this is celery with something else to make a toffee flavour. It's really very bizarre. It's not much of a coffee flavour or smell in there, but let's see what it's like. Oh, good Lord. Oh. Now, I don't know if these are just getting worse because I'm drinking more of them and it's becoming more apparent that they're terrible and my body is telling me not to drink any more of these, but I'm not sure I can take a second sip of this. There's a weird sort of toffee-like sort of flavour in there that kind of lingers in the mouth, and you think that would be a good thing, but it's kind of combined with this kind of horrible roasty, ashy sort of flavour that's just absolutely revolting. What I think we're going to do is try one of these with some milk to see if it tempers that nastiness. So I think of all of them, the hazelnut was the least worst. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on our espresso machine here, our proper espresso machine. I'm going to use the steam one to texture some milk, and I'm going to pour a little flat white. I'm going to make it slightly smaller than I normally would with a flat white, because things to remember with Nespresso pods is they only have 5 grams of coffee in them. So although they produce a 25-gram beverage, if you put the normal amount of milk into them that you would with a normal double espresso, so say 5 ounces would be a flat white size cup, you just lose the coffee completely. It just disappears in there because the milk to coffee ratio in terms of the actual amount of coffee that's in there is way out with an espresso pod. So I'm going to make it sort of 3 to 4 ounces in a flat white cup. And because it's quite dark, the coffee, it should cut through that. It may not actually taste that bad, but we'll have a go and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make a little flat white here with the hazelnut coffee. There's less crema in this, so we have to be a bit careful pouring our latte art. So there's less to work with. We can make it that's about 4 ounces now. Not my best work, but there's a little bit harder to work with the Nespresso capsules because they don't produce the crema and there's actually not much coffee in them. So let's have a taste and see if it cuts through the milk, see if it tastes a bit more palatable as a milk drink. Well, the milk has sweetened it a bit. It's not as bad as the coffee on its own, but there's just something not very nice about it. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what that is, but it feels like you're drinking something synthetic. It doesn't feel like there's any natural ingredients in there, even though obviously the coffee and actually the hazelnut flavour are obviously natural ingredients. It just doesn't really taste very nice at all. It tastes like a really bad sort of sweet or something like that, but really, really weak. Wouldn't recommend that really. So, to summarise, should you buy these pods? I'd say a resounding no, unless you've got no taste buds at all, or you really like the flavour of weird synthetic ingredients. It's really very, very bad. That's the only thing I can really say about it. You can not in any way transport yourself to Central Perk with these capsules and think you're Rachel or Joey. It's not going to happen. They're so bad, they make you think of a bad milkshake in a weird milkshake bar in Birmingham in the 80s. It's not a good thing. So I've been there for you today. I've tasted these, and as I thought, I've tasted them so that you don't have to. I recommend that you don't. If you like our video, please like and subscribe. We'll be doing more specialty stuff next when my taste buds recover. See you next time. I love Chandler so much that it's just one of my favourite shows.